So Amazon's Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power has been a very hot topic recently. A lot of people are talking about it, including myself. I've been talking about it quite a bit, even though I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. It just seems like that's what everyone wants to hear about. That's what everyone's thinking about. And that's what's at the front of everyone's mind, including myself, because obviously I want the show to be good. I always want these adaptations, these reimaginings or these continuations of these legacy IPs, these great beloved IPs by all the fans. Stuff like Star Wars, The Matrix, and now Lord of the Rings have all been done, and most people would say that they've been done pretty poorly in comparison to what they could have been done. Star Wars with the sequel trilogy was a huge missed opportunity. The Matrix, the new Matrix movie, pretty awful in my opinion, and now the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power from Amazon, seems to be kind of more of the same. It seems to be like they're hiring a bunch of people who don't actually care about the IP. They don't actually care about the lore of Lord of the Rings as much as they care about pushing their own agendas inside of the show and making the show their own. They want to make an Amazon Lord of the Rings more than they want to make a continuation of the true Lord of the Rings, which is kind of what Disney did with Star Wars. They wanted to make Disney Star Wars. They didn't want to make a continuation of George Lucas's Star Wars. But let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. I do just want to check in on this absolutely awful ratio that's going on this new trailer for the Rings of Power. This trailer dropped on February 13th. I believe it dropped during the Super Bowl. Has 5 million views, which is pretty good. It's not tremendous, but it's pretty good. 22k likes to 41k dislikes, and I pointed out in my video yesterday when I went to the Star Wars YouTube channel on how just how difficult it is to ratio stuff like this, to ratio a huge trailer like this, because a few months ago, I guess it's around a year ago at this point, on the Star Wars YouTube channel, people were ratioing every single video they posted, especially High Republic videos and stuff like that, because of the Gina Carano firing and a lot of other things that Disney Star Wars had done towards fans over the years, stuff like that. Every single video is getting an awful ratio, like 30k dislikes to 1,000 likes, and then the Bad Batch trailer comes out, gets around 3 million views, and it's just kind of impossible to ratio a trailer like that gets that many views. But this trailer, 5 million views, and it's getting ratioed pretty badly, especially for a trailer with 5 million views. Top comment says, evil cannot create anything new, they can only corrupt, and that's what all these other comments are saying as well. A quote from J.R.R. Tolkien. 12,000 likes on this comment. That's crazy. That's almost as many likes as this video has got, as the actual trailer has got. And I'm sure it'll get there eventually, but look at all these comments, man. They're all saying the same thing. They're all getting a lot of likes. This one has almost 4,000 likes, but all these have, 20 plus, between 20 and 150 likes. There's a lot of people out there who are sharing the sentiment that this video or that all these comments and all these ratios are sharing. But also, we have a lot of people writing articles about this show. This one's from Yahoo Sports, it's from Yahoo Sports. For $1 billion show, why does the new Lord of the Rings trailer look so cheap? Beside a vast waterfall, a woman dangles precariously from a frozen cliff face. As the wind whips around her, she leaps and drives a golden spike into the ice. When she looks up toward the camera, we know in an instant that she will be all right from the look on her CGI smooth visage. There is no danger because nothing here is real. The only place our new hero looks likely to fall is deep into the uncanny valley. I was saying this on the stream last Thursday, which I think we should be having another stream tonight. Come join the Hot Mics tonight. I believe it's around 8 p.m. that we're going to be doing it, between 7 and 8 p.m. Central. So if you haven't been around for a Hot Mics episode, or if you have been and you want to return, it will be returning tonight. You should go check that out. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, last Thursday, I was saying that I thought this show looked pretty cheap, especially for a show with a $1.5 billion budget. The two people that were on the stream with me were not sharing that sentiment. They were both saying that they thought that the show looked pretty good. They're just worried about the lore breaking and the agendas that are being pushed in the show. But I'm worried about those things, as well as I'm worried about the show just looking kind of cheap. I feel like TV recently has been looking pretty cheap, especially for these big budget TV shows like The Book of Boba Fett. I thought that show looked extremely cheap, and a lot of people thought that a lot of people agree with me there. A lot of people thought that The Book of Boba Fett was very cheap. It was very low effort. A lot of people are not saying that about this Rings of Power series, though, from Amazon. A lot of people are saying that it actually looks like it has a $1.5 billion budget, and I'm not sharing that sentiment. I don't think that this show looks like it's a high-budget show at all. I think, especially if you think about the number, the quantity, the amount of money that they're putting into this show while you're watching these trailers, while you're looking at these images, I think that you should be able to see that it just doesn't quite give off that feel of a big-budget movie, which it should. It should give off a feel that this is going to be an epic movie, a kind of a Dune type movie. That's how I think that it should look anyway. But whatever, maybe they're not putting enough effort into it, or maybe I'm totally misreading this show and maybe it'll look great. I don't think that the lore is going to be great. I don't think the storyline is going to be great. I don't think the diehard fans of Lord of the Rings will be happy with the show, but maybe it'll look great. Who knows? The trailer for Amazon's much anticipated new series, The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, hit screens during Super Bowl this weekend, giving fans an early glimpse at exactly what the world's first billion-dollar television show looks like. The answer, a cut scene from an old Final Fantasy computer game. It is hard to conjure up a sense of jeopardy when your character, in this case Swedish-born Welsh actor Morfydd Clark's young Galadriel, have ended up looking like one of Mark Zuckerberg's creepy, dead-eyed meta avatars wrapped in a billowing cloak of special effects. Sure, Will elves aren't necessarily supposed to look human, but you'd think after spending all that money, she'd at least look like she had a pulse. That's true, man. It doesn't look good. I'm not a fan of these totally CGI, people. Sometimes they do it really well, like the Book of Boba Fett. I'll go back to that as another example, but this time it's not a negative one. I think Luke Skywalker in that show looked damn near flawless, especially when he wasn't talking, when he was just looking and, just existing. He looked pretty flawless, man. And the lips moving and stuff like that, it was a little off at times, but for having no Mark Hamill there, for having no one to, voice him or, no Mark Hamill, like I said, it looked really, really good. And I think that the technology is going to get better and better, but I don't think it'll ever be the same as having someone who's, having the real person there. It'll never be the same, especially when it's someone who has been here before and has passed away. That will just feel really, really strange, I think, until the end of time. I don't think they'll ever be able to have it where it's good enough to where we can forget that someone is dead. That's just never going to be the case. This article from Vanity Fair, though, says 10 burning questions about Amazon's The Rings of Power. I referenced this article yesterday in my video because Robert Meyer Burnett tweeted out about the Amazon Lord of the Rings show, saying that they don't actually own a lot of the material that they should own for doing a TV show in the time period that they're doing the TV show. And they don't own a lot of the rights to a lot of the books, a lot of the movies. They just don't own that much, especially for the time period that they're doing this show in. And it just makes this show make less and less sense the more we find out about this show. But this article was very interesting because they do bring up a lot of good questions, especially I think a lot of you diehard Lord of the Rings fans out there will probably share these same questions as Vanity Fair. Will it look like a Lord of the Rings? It seems like a really simple question, but I think especially these iconic, sci-fi movie series like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, stuff like that, they have iconic feels to them. You can tell, even if you know nothing about, let's just say that you totally forgot, you have amnesia, and you forgot the story of Star Wars, you forgot the story of Lord of the Rings, you would be able to tell just simply based off the look and the feel of the movies that you're watching that it's Lord of the Rings or it's Star Wars. So if it doesn't have that feel, like the Book of Boba Fett didn't have the Star Wars feel for me, this Lord of the Rings trailer didn't have the Lord of the Rings feel for me, then it's not going to go over well. Even if the story was great, even if the lore didn't break the canon, even if the story didn't break the lore, stuff like that, if it doesn't look like Lord of the Rings, it just won't live up to the name. It just won't. That's something that has to happen. That's something that you have to be focused on a major amount. How much CGI should audiences expect? As fans, we've already seen the Super Bowl teaser. There are plenty of innovative digital effects in the Rings of Power, but there has been a recent movement led by Lucasfilm and Star Wars in both genre filmmaking and its fandom away from an over-reliance on digital effects. That perceived over-reliance was something some fans disliked in Jackson's Hobbit trilogy. McKay and Payne had a keen interest in practical effects and real-world locations, which didn't always align with their admittedly enormous budget. I think that's true. I think we're definitely, in the space where we're over-relying a bit too much on CGI, even though the CGI has gotten really good. But the good news is I think people are kind of going back now. I think that they're realizing that we're over-relying on this CGI and that no matter how good the CGI gets, it just will never beat the practical effects. It will never beat the real people being there. It will never beat the real, props. It will never beat the real locations. So I think more and more people are trying to go to locations. People are trying to have miniatures instead of, having CGI. They're trying to have miniature props. And I think that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing that a lot, and they also have the volume. They're not green screening it. They're not CGIing it. They're simply projecting it onto a screen and, having, some visual effects, some, I guess, optical illusions to make it look like it's really there. It's really a background. There's really mountains in the background. There's really rivers in the background, stuff like that. I think that they're heading into a better place, but still right now, we still rely on CGI a lot. And it seems like this Lord of the Rings, this Amazon Lord of the Rings series, Rings of Power, is going to rely on CGI quite a lot as well. Another good question brought up by Vanity Fair. What exactly is the source material here? So what did Amazon buy? And this is the quote. This is the very, very troubling quote that Robert Meyer Burnett shared out yesterday that I talked about in my video. We have the rights solely to the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, Return of the King, the Appendices, and the Hobbit, Payne says, and that's it. We do not have the rights to the Silmarillion. Like I said, not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so don't murder me over these pronunciation of these words. But the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, History of Middle Earth, or any of these other books. that takes a huge chunk of lore off the table and has left Tolkien fans wondering how this duo plans to tell a second age story without access to those materials. There's a version of everything we need for the second age in the books we have the rights to, as long as we're painting within those lines and not egregiously contradicting something that we don't have the rights to. There's a lot of leeway and room to dramatize and tell some of the best. So anyway, not only are they breaking a lot of the lore, breaking a lot of the canon, not only are they making a show that most people who are diehard Lord of the Rings fan not interested in, they also don't even have the rights to a lot of the things that they need to tell a compelling story in the time period that they're trying to tell this story in. It just gets worse and worse as time goes on. It gets worse and worse the more we learn about this show. I don't think it's going to be good. Let me know in the comments if you think it's going to be good, if you're looking forward to the show. I hope it's good. I just don't think it will be good. I'm not going to tell you that this show is going to be bad because I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. I hope you give it a shot as well. Like I said, let me know what you think about this show. Let me know what you think about these questions that Vanity Fair brought up. Couldn't get through the whole article because we're pretty over time. You know, this video has been pretty long. I don't want to make it too long. But let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, the link to that will be in the description as well. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope to see you on the next one.